Hey, what's up guys? Chris here, and today I want to talk to you about VCA faders. Now, this is something that is not only going to apply to Cubase, but will apply to any DAW. So whether you're using Pro Tools, Logic, Studio One, or Cubase, you're going to enjoy this tutorial. We're going to jump into a session I've mixed not too long ago, and I'm going to show you how I work with a VCA fader in my session. Alright, now if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And again, share and like this video if you think the video is useful for you. Alright, so let's jump into it. Let's go into my mix session here and let me show you what I did here, okay? We're gonna look at the kick drum channels here. I have like a few here. I have the inside mic track, I have the outside mic track, and I have the sub kick, which is a sample. Now what I do here is I have a main group track for my kick drums, which takes care of these two tracks, okay? The in and out track. They are both routed into this kick group, and this is where I apply the EQ and all the processing, compression, and so on, okay, within that group track. Now, the sub kick track, I don't want that track to go in the same processing as the other tracks, so it is routed directly into my mix drum bus right here, okay, and the output of that group, the kick group track, is also routed into that same mix drum bus, okay? Now, if you want to know more about this mix template, just go on my website. I'm going to leave the link on top here, and in the description below, I have a special free ebook and video course talking about the way I set up my mix template, okay? So check it out. What I have here, I have some automation on this sub kick channel, and just to put you in context, we're just going to have a quick listen to that part. So what I have here is a VCA fader that controls the volume of the kick sound, okay? And when I'm talking about the kick sound, I'm talking about these two tracks and the sub kick in a whole, okay? So that is my kick sound. So basically, the VCA fader will remote control all these tracks together by maintaining the relative balance between the tracks. So I'm just going to remove the automation I have here. So if I bring down my VCA fader, okay, you'll see the group track and my kick and my sub kick moving around, okay, up and down. And they're keeping the same gain structure, which is great. So I had the VCA fader to control only these two tracks, okay, the group kick track and the sub kick. Even if I have some automation going on one of the tracks, it is going to maintain the gain structure, okay, so which is pretty cool. And I just did some automation here. So on that part, the part where everything comes down, I just wanted to have a bit less of the sub kick and less volume in general, okay, as far as the kick goes. So that's why I worked it out this way. And when the band comes back, I have my kick sub coming back up and the entire kick sound going back up again, okay? So this is what we get. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now I'm going to replicate that with the snare, okay? I'm going to do the same so you can get the process here. Okay, so now what I have for my snare, I have two mics that mic the snare on that recording, one condenser and one dynamic microphone. They were taped together, so you know there was no phasing issues. And I have a bottom snare mic, basically, and they're all routed into that snare group. And this is again where I do all of the processing, EQ, compression, and so on. Then I have two samples. I have one snare sample where I added a bit of compression, and I have a room sample as well. And they're both not going into the same group. They are routed directly into my main mix drum bus right here, okay, which is a group. Because again, I didn't want them to go into the same processing than the acoustic snare, okay? So let's have a quick listen on the snare we have right here. Okay, so that is the acoustic snare. And I have the sample. That is this one. It's going into a compressor, and then I post-send it to a reverb as well, okay? But the main snare stays dry. Then I have the snappy room sound that I kind of like. Okay, that is the sample by itself without any processing, except what is inserted into my my main mix bus, okay? So both of these tracks are routed into the mix drum group. And this is what I have. And I have a bit of automation here because during that drop part, I wanted to have a bit more of the acoustic snare and less of the samples. So let's have a listen to that. Just focus on the balance between the samples and the acoustic snare group. Okay, so I just reshaped the sound of the snare during the drop, and then the snare comes back to its original state when the band comes back. Now what I need to do though is within that drop part, I want to just bring down the entire snare sound. So I'm going to use a VCA channel to do so. So let me show you how I do that. I'm just going to select all the tracks, the channels I want the VCA channel to control. And these are the snare group track and both sample tracks. So they're all selected. I'm going to right click and add VCA fader to selected tracks. And there you go. The VCA fader is right here. I'm just going to rename that to snare, actually SN VCA. All right, so now I'm ready to apply some automation here. Okay, I'm going to just go back here. Okay, that's pretty nice. Now, if we look on the project window, we have the snare VCA and we have the automation here. And if we look here on top, where I have some automation on the sample channels, we can see in the background the VCA automation, okay, which is quite nice. Let me change the color of that track and put that yellow. So this way it's going to be a bit more obvious. So in the background, we have the automation of the VCA. And on top, we have the automation of the actual track. Now, you're probably going to ask me, why didn't you use a regular group track to do so and send all of the snare tracks to that group and just automate that group? Yeah, I could have. But the only thing, though, if I, for example, take one of the sample tracks here, and I'm just going to go back to my mix console, and I route that to a separate group. Let's say I have one set up right here. Now, the thing is, I'm already sending a post signal to a reverb, okay, to a plate reverb for that sample. And if I'm just going to solo this, if I automate that group, just listen to what it does. Okay, the effect stays there, okay? It's not going to maintain the balance between the sample and the effect. Okay, so that's why I'm using a VCA fader in that case, because it will maintain all balances. So I'm just going to solo that again and route that back to my main mix bus and do the same thing. Now this way, by using the VCA fader, it will actually bring down the actual fader of the drum sample, and this way, since my effect is sent as a post signal to the reverb, it will keep the wet and dry relationship between the sample track and the reverb. So that's why I use a VCA fader in this situation. All right, guys, so this is it for this week. This is how I use VCA faders in a mix. Now, if you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below and let me know at the same time if you're familiar with that VCA concept and if you use VCA faders in your mixes. Again, subscribe and like and share this video. That helps the channel a lot. All right, guys, until next time, see you.